Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today we are continuing this little series of colonial hardware out of the Sorber Collection book. And there was a neat little piece in there. It was a little simple. Like I said, we had to get a lot of video done. We didn't have time for anything complex. But there was something that was called a peel, which is basically a heavy-duty spatula. And this was used to get your biscuits out of your big bread ovens. It was used to scrape it up off where it would maybe have stuck to the bottom of the oven. So the thing about the peel is the fact that it had a very wide blade and a thin handle. And normally today when we are doing our spatulas, they are riveted. There's a wide sheet metal head and then there's a handle that's riveted to it. The reason that we do this is because in order to be able to actually spread a spatula blade out of metal, you've got to have a lot of metal. And so this is really what I want to point out with this. The bar that I am using here to make this is 3/4 of an inch. So it is a chunk of metal. Now, I figured that would be plenty to make the peel out of, to like compare it to the ones that was in the museum and in the book. And what I'm doing is I am using my power hammer in the place of a striker. I have a fullering hammer here, and I am spreading that tip. Now, if you're ever doing any operation that requires a spread like this, if you saw me using that spring swage earlier, that's really the key to getting a good delineation. But what I want to point out here is like 3/4 inch square bar, that's a hell of a hunk of metal. And even though I'm going to spread this out a couple of times, it really still was not enough for what I wanted. And, even I was a little surprised. I'm like, surely 3/4 bar will be enough. But I think 1 inch would have been better. And now this is where it comes down to why colonial ironwork and older ironwork does not look like a lot of our stuff today, because these people were starting with essentially 3 sizes of steel from the ironmongers: small, medium, and oh my god, right? So a lot of this stuff that they were taking it down from much, much larger stock, whereas today we have such a variety of sizes of steel, we don't have to do that, but it actually affects our work. It affects what we can do and how much we can spread and move. Now you imagine, now I'm using a power hammer here, but you imagine if it was me and 2 guys in the shop with sledgehammers, just how much time we'd be spending with sledge work to actually spread, the blade of this peel. I mean, it's a lot of freaking work. And, most of us have this image of the blacksmith today is that, there's one guy in a shop standing at the anvil. That is absolutely not how it was. Like, all of this work, even for small tooling, was a team of guys. And this is why you had a bunch of young apprentices, because you needed them to be able to work those sledgehammers. So even as much work as doing the front of that peel was, now we really get into the hammer work, because we have a 3/4 inch square bar that we need to reduce down to about 3/8 thickness. And that's a lot of damn work. That's a lot of work. So again, we're back to the fact that as one guy, especially as a guy that was in business, for me to make this peel by myself, would be a couple of hours if my arms held up. And, tapering out a 3/4 inch bar by hand with a single hand hammer, man, you're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger before it's all over. So, and I'm, even though I've been doing this stuff for like 20 years now, it always amazes me that the difference of what I thought blacksmithing was when I started and what I've come to understand actually how it worked. And again, Andrew Molinaro posted a video on YouTube about that was a video of, I think, from the early 1900s of the blacksmiths making an anchor chain and an anchor. And, again, I came up, thinking one sole blacksmith there at the anvil. And this video shows it is like a mob of blacksmiths. It's like it's incredible. They're welding this giant anchor, and there's 9 guys shoulder to shoulder. It looks like a mosh pit with hammers. And if you look back at a lot of the hardware that's out there, that's how this stuff was done. So as modern day blacksmiths, most of us are, operating in the garage or something like that by ourselves, and that's just not close to how it was happening. Just not at all. So we have pulled out the majority of this handle, and what I'm going to end up doing now is it's been squared. So now I'm going to go over to the flat dies, and I'm just going to clean this guy up because I've been using those stretching dies. And guys, I got to tell you, in the absence of having like 4 of your buddies over there with sledgehammers, if you don't have a power hammer of some sort, like, it opens up an entire new world of metalworking, even a tire hammer. But, and I wish, I wish we had some more historical documentation on how the actual businesses ran. I mean, like the actual nitty gritty of the everyday stuff. But anyway, I digress. So what I have done is I've left one end thick, and so I'm going to spread that on the flat dies. And one thing I noticed about the hardware in the Sorber collection is a lot of it had punch decorations. I'm like, I said, well, we're going to flatten this out, and, I'm going to do a little bit of, punch decorations. It won't take any time at all, and, we'll fancy it up a little bit. And it gave me an excuse to actually use these punches that have been gathering rust over beside my tool rack. So I'm just straightening this bad boy up here, just getting it a little even. Not evening. It's been a long week, folks. So we're going to tippy tap that out, and we'll get some punches here in a second. Any day now, Trent. Hurry it up, buddy. We got a voiceover to do. Oh, leave it alone, man. It's straight enough. So these punches, I think that's an eye punch from Big Blue. And Big Blue, I'm sorry. This is a stolen punch. I absolutely stole the hell out of these off the set of Master of Arms. Like, we finished up the season, and I had cargo pants on, and like walking out of the studio, I jingled a lot. So, but they're great. They're great punches. So if you get a chance to go over to Big Blue and buy some of their punch sets, they're awesome. They've worked very, very well. I like them a lot, but they are stolen. You can see the hold fast we have from an early, I don't know, I think we did that in an earlier video, but it's been a while back. Again, we're back to that thing of like, being a one guy shop. That's just not how it was. There, you had apprentices there to hold this thing for you. You wouldn't need these hold fast, especially. Little tippy. And I wasn't, like, again, this was completely pulled out of my hind end. I was just, doing weird stuff. Whereas a lot of the tooling, a lot of the decoration on the Sorber stuff was actually just like a punch decoration where you had just like a center punch, and there's lots of dots and things like that. But I'm just being creative, just throwing some extra in there. Little scrubby with the wire brush, and we should have a finished product here. Tippy. And take a look at that. That's right. Not anything is even. So now what I'll do is I'll straighten this peel up. And, and one of the other amazing things that I've come to figure out is how many times, like, when they did pieces like this peel, they would actually overforge it. I mean, like on the axes that they would do. In my mind, you always forged it to the final shape. And no, a lot of this stuff, I mean, if you're going to do it in any reasonable time frame, you overforge it and then usually just end up using your chisel to cut it back or to grind it back like I'm going to do here. Got a 36 grit on this Burr King. This is actually the first 2x72 I ever owned. I got it from a guy named Ed Jackson in Shellman, Georgia. Great guy. And so what I'm going to do here is, it looks kind of like a cow patty, but I'm going to grind it and shape it, especially on the shoulders. And that's a little aggravating here because I don't have a lot of clearance, but I'm going to make it happen. And again, this blade should be a lot, I believe, a good bit wider and also a little bit longer from the ones that I saw in the book. And this is clearly a mistake of me, again, just kind of shooting from the hip. I thought that 3/4 inch stock would have been plenty of material to do this with, but I was in fact wrong. Now, guys, if you are going to be making hardware to go and sell, you can absolutely leave that, that carburized finish that's on there. But to really show off the hammer marks and everything, you need to wire brush it, and not by hand. Let me tell you something. If you try to take a wooden wire brush and wire brush that thing to this level, you're going to be there for 3 days. Getting a powered wire wheel is a must if you're going to be doing good looking ironwork on that end. You're going to learn some hard lessons. Make sure you and everybody around you has on safety glasses, because that thing is going to throw, steel darts at everybody. But it's one of these things that I cannot do without when I'm doing top end ironwork. This is something I haven't shown for a long time. This is where I'm actually blackening the piece. Again, for hinges and interior ironwork, I mean, you can just put a coat of wax on them. It's not durable. I mean, it helps, but it's nowhere near as durable as doing a baked on finish like this. So there we go. Beautiful finish. You can see those hammer marks very clearly, and I'm pretty sure you can scoop a biscuit out from there. Jonathan hasn't seen this. So I had to lie to my buddy. I told him to grab us a railroad spike. He's gonna hate this. Guys, he's gonna kill me. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you've been enjoying it as much as I have. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.